Okay, my beautiful friends, here we go. It's me, Gregory Mannarino, Thursday, March 14, 2024. This is my pre-market report. It is 8:21 a.m. Eastern Time. In just about 9 minutes, we're supposed to get some kind of economic data with regard to unemployment claims. I don't even care what the data says. It's all fake. It's all propaganda anyway. But we'll talk about it later. Let's focus on what's happening here. The United States is now attacking more targets in the Middle East, more specifically in Yemen, and you're watching what's happening here to crude oil. Higher, higher, higher. And we haven't seen anything yet. An interesting phenomenon is occurring here. I want to talk about it, but I don't think it's anything we need to worry about. I'm referring to the 10-year yield. Okay, the 10-year yield is the benchmark. You will know that. It's rising. We're at 4.2 right now, despite the fact that we're hitting more targets. The U.S. is hitting more targets over there in the Middle East. Imagine my shock. Imagine your shock. War is going to continue. War in 24. Remember that last year? War in 24. Well, we haven't seen anything yet, especially with the growing threat. And I mean, this is real with regard to the U.S. dollar as the world reserve. And the Fed, they're going to defend this if they have to kill millions. So just be ready for that. Anyway, so with regard to the 10-year yield here, the market seems to be shrugging everything off despite rising risk. Okay, we've seen this 10-year yield bounce around a lot. And again, it's the driver of the market. While everyone else is focusing on the Dow Jones Industrial Average or the S&P 500, you and I are looking at the drivers of the market. And we've been so far ahead of the curve on this. Speaking of being ahead of the curve, hold that thought because I want to talk about something in just a moment. Anyway, so I still believe what I said earlier this week. If you're a bond investor, and I know there's a lot of you out here because I hear from a lot of you, okay, now's the time to think about getting in here. I sincerely believe with all I got, and I've been telling you this over and over again, the Fed's going to start cutting rates. The Fed's going to start cutting rates. It's going to happen, all right? They already got the economy by the throat. Speaking of which, we got a warning from JPM. We'll talk about that in a moment. And the consumer is essentially done. Now, the central banks, the Fed in this case, well, they're looking for another way to inflate. On top of having to finance war, more war, and expanding war, a key here is going to be cutting rates. Because how does the central bank cut rates again? They don't just say it. They can't just magically, wave a magic wand and rates are going to fall. No. They have to create cash out of nothing, add digits to a screen, click, 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 click. Oh, look at what we have. And they have to get into the market and buy the debt. And you can expect that to happen. It's just so crazy to understand what the Fed in this case is doing. They issue debt through one door and they buy it back through another. They issue debt through one door and they buy it back through another. This mechanism, okay, no one's going to tell you this. No one running for president is going to tell you this. No politician is going to tell you this. No one's going to tell you this. But this mechanism, this revolving door, is massively inflationary. Can I get a duh here? Because that is what we're seeing now. And this is what central banks are doing around the world. I mean, they manage the economy. They run the economy. They run the financial markets. They run the financial system. And again, it's all the deception, the distraction. Central banks, none more so than the freak show Federal Reserve, they must be made to look like they're angels here, and they have our best interest in mind. Nothing on this earth could possibly have could be more false. You understand what I'm saying here? It's an incredible thing here, but that's just the way it is. So anyway, 10-year yield coming up. I'm not really worried too much about this. The market seems to be in a good spot with risk where it is. The U.S. dollar isn't telling us anything. Usually, if there's a big issue developing, you see a knee-jerk into the dollar. The Dixie, or the relative strength of the dollar, has been falling. All right. So Market's okay here. And that, in my opinion, says there's more upside to this market. Now, more specifically, earlier today in my free newsletter, free to you, free to everybody, link in the description of this video, I put out a very short article where I explained to you, like I said at the end of last year, okay, tech or tech companies, tech stocks, this, in my opinion, okay, looks to be the place to be even right now with the way things are setting up until the presidential selection. I'll talk about that in a moment too, which I've covered already, but I will readdress that. So if you do check my newsletter, you can see where I put a link to my website, more specifically the stock screener. There's opportunity here again, in my opinion, with large cap tech stocks. Now, my stock screener couldn't be easier to use. It says buy, sell, strong buy, strong sell. This thing has been spot on. It really, really has. I mean, is it 100% right? No. But it's about 90% right. And that's pretty impressive in my opinion. Anyway, go check that out. Anyway, with regard to this new warning, another warning, should I say, from JP Morgan, more specifically from the CEO, Jamie Dimon. You know, he's our friend. We love him. Look, they have to, these institutions, especially the CEOs, they have to give you little pieces of truth here so you understand, so they can say, hey, look, we warned you. So Jamie Dimon, the CEO of JP Morgan, is saying, look, the economy doesn't look too good and things appear to be getting worse. I mean, another duh is required here. You and I have been calling this for I don't know how freaking long. The economy's dead. It's dead and buried, and there's no connection at all, and you know this, between what the stock market is doing and what the economy is doing. This gap between the two keeps getting larger and larger and larger. This is going to eventually normalize. We all know that. And it's going to be a moment in time people are not going to forget for decades, more than likely, when this actually does occur. But again, unlike everybody else, right, you and I are continuing to watch the drivers of this market, the debt market, the 10-year yield, more specifically, what the dollar is doing here. And I got this summed up in a nice little equation in the Mannarino market risk indicator, the MMRI. Again, free to everybody. Link in the description of this video. Anyway, look, we got this. We know what's going on. And we're taking action. Something else I wanted to bring to your attention, and this is getting pretty much widespread media attention. So the United States is in secret talks with Iran. Interesting. I wonder what those secret talks are all about. You can't make this stuff up. You think we live in a democracy? No. Not even a representative democracy anymore. We have no voice. We're not voting for any of this. Did you vote for the $300 million? I made a mistake the other day, which I did correct, not billion, that we're now sending over to Ukraine, and that's just another installment. I don't think you voted for that. Did you vote for all these bombings and attacks that we're carrying on right now in the Middle East here, watching crude oil go up? Because that's what this is all, is a mechanism to pull cash into the now, to prop up crude oil, to allow central banks to inflate. You know all this. It's a game, and nothing is what it appears to be. Now, with regard to this market, I've already told you what I am planning on doing. Just like these multi-billionaire investors have already pulled their cash out of the market, just like these senators and CEOs of institutions here that have already done that, we're going to see more. The way things are going, all right, I will be more than likely, and I will keep you on top of this, pulling my own cash out of this market before this election. It looks to me, as the way things are setting up, I already covered this, Biden is being selected, just like last time. Again, Trump and a third of the American people believe that the last election was stolen. If that's actually the case, if there is a force here so strong that they're able to do that, don't you think they can fake it too? They can fake it again and cover up any kind of so-called, manipulation with regard to how people's voting went? Of course. Look, if you're going to rig something like an election, all right, you also have to figure out how you can cover that up. Okay, this is all figured out before that. President Trump still believes that. A third of the American people still believe that's true. It's happening again, in case you don't know. And they're giving people, again, as I covered yesterday, just enough rope to hang themselves. What do they want? They want control. They want to take your rights and your liberties away. They're hoping for a revolt. They're hoping for a violent revolt, a violent revolution. There's another way to do this, obviously, but that's what they're hoping to get so they can use this as an excuse, and that's exactly what's going to happen. It's going to be absolute pandemonium this time. They're using this as a mechanism here to extort more control from every single one of us. It's a shame. People can't see what's going on. It's absolutely true. Anyway, people, look, with that said, we will, of course, cover all this. We have a lot to until we get to the selection. But anyway, I just wanted to give you all a heads up. I hope you got something out of this video. Large cap tech, please check that out. This whole thing is a setup on a grand scale that is beyond the scope of most people to understand. You have to think at a different level. Again, the indoctrination process has people in a box. You and I, we're not there. We are way outside that box. We're able to think. We're actually able our intellect to understand what's going on, to put these together in a perspective that, well, we've been spot on, and we're still spot on, and we're going to remain there. That means we're going to be way ahead of the curve on every level. All right, but that said, I love all of you a lot. I mean that. I'll see you later, 4 or 5 p.m. for my live stream. Until that time, take care of yourselves and take care of each other.